Hey, everybody. Welcome to True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. I'm here. I'm Kristi Brower, first of all.
Right?
I am here with my very special guest co-host and sister, Ronda Knudsen. Hey,
Woo! Hi, everyone.
welcome to the show. Nice
I'm
to
so
have you
excited to
here.
be here.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. We did the Psychic Hour, and that was really fun.
It was really fun.
And today we're going to do another show. But first of all, we like to start with a check-in. How are you, Rhonda?
I'm good. I'm on vacation and we're going camping this weekend. So hopefully I can find what we're talking about today, maybe.
Ooh,
Ooh.
that's a possibility where we're going.
Right? Right? There we
I
go.
know. I'm so excited. We're actually recording this show and then we're leaving for
Mm-hmm.
days. It's going to be great.
Right?
I'm excited too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, as you all know, we are a true crime show. We're also a paranormal show, and this is a very paranormal topic. But this is literally Rhonda's favorite thing to talk about. And so I thought it would be super fun to have her on and have this conversation. And so today's show is about Bigfoot.
Woo! That
Is
was my
this
yell.
big guy real? Was that your best call? Or are you going
No,
to give us a better
well,
one
that
later?
was my yeah, I'll give you a better one later.
Okay. What do we think? Because Bigfoot is a cryptid, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, lots and lots of people believe in Bigfoot.
Right.
Lots of people have had sightings. There's all kinds of stuff, but we've never been able to definitively prove the existence of Bigfoot.
Right.
But I know that you have watched more shows and documentaries about Bigfoot than maybe anyone.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
let's lay it on us. What do you think?
Well, I do think that Bigfoot's real. I think that there's just too many stories. Bigfoot goes back to Native American and indigenous, people that and settlers who talk about this Bigfoot, this hairy ape man, this whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have tradition around that, and I think that that to me says, yeah, there's something to this. Also, the people that work out in the uh, logging industry, that work in the all those people that are kind of out there in the middle of nowhere by themselves. A lot of times they'll have a sighting, or they'll hear something, or they'll see something, and so yeah, I think it's real. I haven't had a sighting myself. I mean, me and my puppy try, but we just don't get anywhere. I guess
You're always hoping for one
I
everywhere we
know, I
go.
know, I know.
You
Yeah.
hold Rhonda holds our little Tweenie Zizi, and
Mm-hmm.
Zizi watches out the window when we drive places, and Rhonda tells Zizi to be that she's squatching.
Watchful. Yep, yep.
She's
She's
squatching.
watching.
Time to watch.
That's right. That's right. So yeah. I mean, like I said, I can't discount what other people have seen and heard, and the fact that it goes back so far, I think also speaks to it being real. Yeah.
Well, and on every continent,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
absolutely everywhere. Yeah, I think
Mm,
some of the islands we don't, obviously, but yeah, some of the bigger places, Asia has the urine, or the Yemen, and the urine, and oh, there was another name and I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, there's tons of sightings, and Bigfoot, comes in a lot of different colors depending on where he's at, or she's at.
mm-hmm.
There's the abominable snowman, in the icier places. And they've seen footprints. They've seen footprints up on the top of mountains that there's nobody up there. They've seen. There's one of. Somebody took a picture of a Bigfoot type creature walking up this ridge, and it's a ridge that people really can't get to. Bigfoot seem to be able to do things that that people can't. They have ways of getting places and doing things that people can't. So yeah,
That's
I
an
lean on the side of
interesting
fact. So
that's an
mhm,
interesting way to look at it too, where some of those sightings have been, like, humans can't even get to those places without, like,
right,
mechanical
like
assistance.
helicopter. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
with Bigfoot sightings being so prevalent,
Hmm.
why do we not have an actual specimen that, like, definitively proves this guy exists?
And that's a hard one, there in everything I've ever watched, we've got the Bigfoot footprints and Dr. Jeff Meldrum of Idaho State University, my alma
Mhm.
mater.
Our
Uh,
we are alumnus.
yes, that's true. Yes. He's kind of the leading cryptozoologist, and he studies the feet. I know there's a big term for it, but I'm sorry, Jeff. I can't remember it, but
That's
that's what he
okay.
does, and and he has said, yes, this is not a hoax. This is not flat. This is not somebody using snowshoes to make these prints. There's actual arch, there's actual, pad, all that kind of stuff that you would expect.
Well, and kind of almost like fingerprints like we have on the
Yeah,
bottoms of our feet,
prints and
like,
stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
he has
Mm-hmm. Yep.
hundreds of them, doesn't he?
He
Hundreds and
does.
hundreds of, casts.
Mm-hmm. And he has casts of like bunion type things on their feet and
Yeah.
dislocated toes and all that kind of stuff. So if you're hoaxing it, I would think that you'd make it the same every time.
Mhm.
And there are and he can tell the difference. He'll show you a hoax one, and it's very
Mhm.
flat. It's just and there
Like
are
some,
people that
like, stamped sorta.
yeah, exactly, and these are not. And could it be a hoax? I just think there's too much there for it to be a hoax.
Right, right. Well, and what about DNA? Because 'Cause there's been some work done on trying to identify DNA.
So DNA, they have gotten hair samples, they've gotten poop samples, they've gotten, all different kinds of samples, and it comes back humanoid but unknown, almost always, right?
Mhm.
And so, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for the mainstream scientific community, I guess.
And that's so weird to me because why isn't it? I mean, if it's humanoid DNA, why is it unknown?
And that's the
You
thing
know?
is this is a totally different species, and so
Right.
obviously we're building that. But back to your question about why don't we have bones and stuff like I don't know. I don't know if
Mhm.
they bury them, and so we don't see them. I don't know if they burn them. I don't know if they just put them in caves somewhere that we can't have access to. I don't know.
'Cause, yeah, like,
Because
where's the fossil record?
right, right. And that's what mainstream science comes back to is, well, we've never found any bones or we've never found anything like that. And the thing is I don't know. Have they found bones and they've assigned it to something else? Or said, hey, these are older than that. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
don't know.
Right, is it possible that those bones could have been identified as, Neanderthal or, some
Right.
other, pre, Homo sapien something?
Right, right. Well, and if
I don't
they
know.
if they if they bury their dead, which is a possibility. I mean, that's been going on for a long time.
Mhm.
It would be down under layers of soil. So if they're doing soil samples, I would think, or they're doing that kind of uh coding kind of thing of the carbon dating and stuff like that. It might be. And we don't know how old Bigfoots live either. They could live hundreds of
Mhm.
years. They could live 60 years. They could live 30 years. I know that there have been sightings of families. There have been sightings of gray ones with gray in them. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, we don't know. We don't know how long they live and things like that because we've never
Right.
been able to study them. That being said, I don't know that I'd want to catch one and study it either. I don't think that would be that would be all right either. So
Right, that's the hard part is that, generally if you catch one to study it, it's because you killed it.
right,
And
right,
and there are definitely so there are a lot of different kinds of researchers that go out looking for Bigfoot, and some of them
right.
actually are going out to kill one.
Right, right. And there are some on YouTube. My brother-in-law, said, "Hey, there's this guy on YouTube. He says he's got one in his freezer." You know, I
You hear stories
obviously
about
dead.
that, but then okay, where's the scientific evaluation of that body, you know?
Right, right. Well, and I know some people are a little, scared of government or whatever to
Mhm.
come get it because they never get things back. You know what I mean? So
Right. Right, and
so there's
we've
some of
seen some
that.
of the photos of things that this guy has, and I mean,
Mhm.
they're pretty compelling,
Right. They
but you
are.
just don't know because I mean the ability to recreate things like that is so
Mhm.
good now.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I think don't you think it's such an unfortunate thing that there have been a lot of fakes of Bigfoot, people in costumes, fakes of footprints, all that stuff
Mhm.
that has made this much more complicated.
Yeah, I totally agree. If people would be totally honest and that kind of thing and not try and fake things. I mean, the Roger Gimlin, you put the picture up for
Yeah.
the card here. That's the most famous Bigfoot video that there is out there still. And there are people that say, well, so and so said it was a hoax and they were dressed up and stuff. The issue with that is that was a female. And you can tell because it has breast tissue. You can see the
Here,
breast tissue on
I'm gonna put the postcard for this show up so that people can see it.
it.
This is the picture
Yeah.
that we're talking about.
So and then you can see kind of butt muscles and muscles in the legs. And they said people have tried to do recreations of that at that what they had at that time because this was again in the 60s or 70s, I think.
Yeah.
And they can't. They didn't have that capability, okay,
Mhm.
to do that. And also, why would you make a female? A male would be so much easier. You'd have a flat chest. You'd have,
Mhm.
the anatomical. It would just be easier.
Yeah.
But to have a female, and that kind of puts a check in my box to yeah, I think that
Mhm.
one's real. So
That
yeah.
that makes sense to me.
Hmm.
Well, okay, but now we go into the realm of the paranormal side of this.
Sure,
There
sure,
are a lot of potential paranormal explanations for why we see Bigfoot but never catch them. We never see them dead, that kind of thing. So,
sure.
what do you know about that?
Well, there's several different thoughts. One is that there's almost always a flying saucer light kind of thing over where the especially at night. A lot of times they'll see a light, and then they'll hear the the Sasquatch or see signs of the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. Um, so some people say, "Hey, this is it's an alien, and it's coming down to Earth, and it's kind of one of those watchers. It watches us, and it's not supposed to really intervene in our lives and things like that. It's just supposed to watch and kind of give information back to the alien people, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. There's a lot on that piece of they're riding in spaceships and that's why you can't find them. And when you hear one and then you go looking for it and it's gone, that's why is because they're teleporting, they're going back up to their spaceship or whatever. um i
Mhm.
i tend to I kind of tend to not believe that one as much as there's also thought of that they know where all like the caves and stuff are underground, and they'll pop into one of those,
Mhm.
and that's how they kind of travel and stuff like that, and that's why you don't see them as much. I kind of believe that one a little more because sometimes, like down south, they call it the skunk ape because it smells really bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll say that's what they notice first is a pretty gross smell.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I think that we're looking for a creature that knows the area so much better than we ever would, even our best scouts, and and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. They just know it, and they have longer legs and can run faster and move faster and all that kind of stuff.
Stronger, really
Yeah.
long, strong arms. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So, those are two of the big ones. Um, I'm trying to think if I've heard any
So
others. Go
the
ahead.
one that I tend to believe,
Mhm.
that I think answers all of the cryptids that we can't find but that have been seen is
Mhm.
the concept of portals.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I know portals are real. I've worked with portals, I've moved portals, closed portals. In the space clearing that Katie and I have done for years, we've worked with portals. And
Mhm.
portals are just doors from one realm to another, from one level of vibration to another.
Right.
And
Right.
I really believe that Bigfoot moves in and out of this realm through portals that we cannot see
Mhm.
because it vibrates at a different rate than us.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that things like Bigfoot and other unknown cryptids
Mhm.
come and go that way. So we never actually, they don't physically live here. They physically live on a different plane than we do.
So do we need to be with them energetically then to see them? Is what that kind of what you're saying, that if our
I
energy.
think they have the ability to lower their vibration to ours.
Okay.
My
I'm just asking because me and my puppy want to see one. So.
no, totally, totally. I do feel that I agree with that idea that they are watching us.
Mhm.
That
I do too.
there is some reason that they come and interact with us, but they absolutely have the ability to walk through a doorway that takes them back to where they came from.
Mhm. Mhm.
I think other cryptids, there are very credible sightings of, there are so many credible
Mhm.
sightings.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I feel like there are reasons we don't understand.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think we're sort, remember that movie, The Truman Show?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like we're kind of in that. Like we
Mhm.
live on this 3D plane doing what we do for reasons we don't fully understand.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that if we were able to view all of the realms of vibration that vibrate higher than we do, that we can't perceive,
Mhm.
that we would realize that this is kind of a set up environment
Mm. Yeah.
that we are in. And I know that
Mhm.
might sound crazy, but I
Oh, not to
I
me.
I have developed the skills to interact with beings that vibrate much higher than us.
Mhm.
And so I know that those realms exist.
Mhm.
And I know that portals exist because I have come into contact with them many times. I've closed them, I've moved them. Some you cannot close or move because they are naturally occurring. It's how we have interaction with people who have crossed over, for example.
Mhm. Mhm.
How we have interaction with spirits and things like that, is that there's a way for them to travel, and they're traveling down to us.
Mhm.
And we can move up to them in brief spurts, but we can't, it's not a permanent thing, if you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying. Like it's not something that we can, it's our physical bodies, it's this physical reality that keeps us down. There's
Mhm.
only so high we can go vibrationally because of the denseness of the energy that we live in.
Okay.
So I think
That's
Bigfoot and all
interesting.
this other stuff that people see, I feel
That's
like
an
they all
interesting
exist,
thought.
just not on our plane.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
It
and
makes
that
sense to me.
explains, it explains why we never find them dead. We don't have them in our fossil record. It's because they don't live, they literally don't live in this physical reality.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's
Um,
kind of what I think.
I Yeah, and I'm open-minded to whatever. I mean, that's something I'm gonna really have to think about, because I haven't, that I'm aware of, really been involved in the portal stuff. It makes me wonder though if, um, that transcendental idea, and that, what's it called, when you leave your body,
Like astral travel,
yeah, astral travel. So is that something that you could then astral travel to that realm? Or.
potentially.
I'm
Potentially
still
given the
trying to get
skills.
there.
Hmm. Yeah, potentially given the skill and the practice. Sure.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Not
Yeah.
something that I'd really thought of. I know that a lot of people say yes, there really is a supernatural piece to that, just because of always seeing kind of a light, or always seeing, something uh, that happens above where they're at.
Or they're
So
just there and then they're gone.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
we do not physically have the ability to appear, disappear.
Right.
But it does seem as though Bigfoot and other cryptids
Mhm.
do
Mhm.
appear to have that ability.
Right, right. Yeah, because I mean, I can't remember the one on Hawaii. It's a little man. They have a
Hmm.
little one. But yeah, almost every culture has a uh, a Sasquatch type story, or a person that, a person, a being, a cryptid, as you
Hmm.
said. There's a lot of meaning around that, especially for the indigenous people of the areas. So,
Right. Yeah, they're very much built into folklore
yeah.
everywhere. Well, and so speaking of, we were talking about this in 1993 in California, not far from Mendocino, California, in what's called the Emerald Triangle, I think. It's a
Hmm.
place where there's lots and lots of pot grown. Um, there were three people murdered on a pot farm and they were dismembered, like ripped apart physically.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there's a lot of folklore around Bigfoot in that area.
Hmm.
And it was believed for a long time that those deaths were caused by a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot or whatever.
Hmm. Hmm. And the thing is that, as far as I could tell, and I did a little research before the show, I haven't found Bigfoot has scared people. Bigfoot has run at people. But as far as like killing someone or kidnapping, that's another big one. Um,
Hmm.
it's there's just not a lot of credible evidence at this point
Right.
that I've found.
Yeah,
You know.
I agree. And they ultimately proved that this was not Bigfoot. You
Mhm.
know, we did our very first show for True Crime Paranormal was the Dyatlov Pass incident.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we did determine that we feel that that was a Yeti or, you know, some kind of
Mhm. Mhm.
Bigfoot that they were attacked by something.
Mhm.
We really feel that, you know, that is one of the explanations. And you know, there have been lots of them and no one's ever fully proved what happened to those hikers, those skiers.
Mhm.
um but in reading that case, that's what we determined, is that they were not that they were killed by
Right.
the Bigfoot, but that they were sort of
Scared.
terrified and ran
Mhm.
out into this, you know, like
Mhm.
30 below weather and died of
Yeah,
exposure.
right. Actually, I saw something recently on that had they had another thought, and they thought it might have been a slab avalanche. That was one.
Yes, I saw that.
And but I agree. I think that there was something there,
Hmm.
obviously, whether
They've
it
never
was
been able to prove it. The avalanche theory has been around since that happened.
right.
They've never been able to prove that that's what happened. But yeah, I know there's a new show out saying that. There's also a really interesting documentary about that Bigfoot
Mm-hmm.
was the cause, you know. I don't know.
It
I
makes
feel like
sense.
vibrationally we are held down to a point that we cannot see a lot of what is actually happening around us.
Mm-hmm.
And that if we could, all of this would make sense.
Right.
Like this
Right.
whole, why are we here? Why are we living this life? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we
Mm-hmm.
in these bodies? You know, all that stuff. If we could vibrationally, if we could come up higher
Mm-hmm.
to the higher planes, we would actually be able to see
Mm-hmm.
more of the truth of what all of this is and why. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for reasons of, I don't know, learning, experiencing, remembering, understanding, we are
Mm-hmm.
held to a level that there are many things that we cannot know or perceive.
Right, right. I would agree. I just kind of got a hit on that, and that was I wonder if um, the Bigfoot came and scared them out of their tent before they got buried. You know what I mean? There may have been some, I don't know, something.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
There, yeah, it's a
and who
very
knows?
interesting story, and it is one that will never be solved,
Right,
because all of the people that experienced that died.
right, right. Yeah, they can't tell us what happened.
No, they can't. But there are so many experiences around the world. I agree with you that Bigfoot has to exist in some
Hmm.
way.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not as though there's a giant worldwide, centuries and centuries old conspiracy. That doesn't play out. That doesn't work.
No, no,
We don't
no.
get along with each other well enough to make that true.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Why do you think people are so interested in Bigfoot? Like this is a huge topic, that
Hmm.
so much research, like Jeff Meldrum has devoted his professional career to it, which some people would say that's crazy.
Right, right.
What is the draw, do you think?
I think the draw is human nature is to understand, to understand what's going on. I mean, that's where our myths and legends and all of that kind of stuff came from, was our trying to understand with what we had at the time. And I think that's what we're doing is we're trying to make sense of this creature that's been
Hmm.
seen by some and not by others, and some believe and some don't, and all that kind of thing. I think we just want to make sense. We just want it to make sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Isn't that like our what we all strive for our entire lives?
Exactly.
Just make this make sense.
Right. Right. Right.
Well, Rhonda, thank you so much for
You bet.
joining me today here on True Crime Paranormal. It's really fun to get to do a just truly paranormal show. We don't always do, just a truly paranormal one, but I knew with having you as my guest host, we had to do a Bigfoot show because
Yeah.
that is your jam.
Oh, I didn't do the call. Ready?
Oh, do the call.
Woo!
Wow. I am super impressed. That is really good. From
Thank
what
you. I've
I
been
have
watching
seen on the
all.
shows you watch on TV, I think that's quite a good one. I guess you
Uh,
can do it up in the mountains where we're about to go camping. See if you
hey,
call anything in.
if I see one, I will be back with pictures.
Yes, you
So,
will. Yes, you
yes.
will.
Yes, we
Okay.
will.
Well, this is our Monday show. We will be back with 2 more great episodes for you this week. Plus, we'll be back on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain on YouTube and Facebook with our live stream case update. And we will be back on Thursday with at 7 p.m. Mountain with our live stream psychic hour, and it is the first Thursday of the month, which means it will be marching orders for every sun sign. So we have lots more great content coming for you this week, so check it all out. And you know it, we are True Crime Paranormal with the Psychic Sisters. Thanks for being here.